Our next speaker is Phillip Manev of A Data Pro with a beautiful best practice on how measurement helped developing a comprehensive communication strategy for a EU diplomatic entity, right?
Yes.
All right, Phillip, welcome to the stage.
Let's just give a minute or two for the extra people who want to join. Okay, I think we're good to go. Hi all, pleasure to see you here today, and pleasure to see some familiar faces in front of me in the audience. So as you know, today I'm going to be talking about how our media intelligence team helped a client of ours, a EU diplomatic entity operating in the MENA region, how our media intelligence team helped them with their communication strategy and efforts. But probably I'd like to start from the end of my presentation with the three key takeaways that I had for me personally from the experience with that client. And those were not new to me or anything, but our work with that client helped me reconfirm the importance of them. And those three are, number one, the importance of active communication between us as communication professionals and our clients. Number two, simplicity when it comes to the analysis, because there are times when we want to over-engineer things here and there. And number three, integrated approach. I think that Sophia mentioned that during her session in the morning, but the importance of the combination of automation and human expertise, I think that it makes the magic happen. And I want to share a personal story here, maybe. Years ago, I talked to a person whose company was working for a big client, a large client, and I was interested to know more about their experience with that client, how was the communication going, if they received any sort of feedback, requests, often requests for amendments, and so on and so forth. And we talked a lot about that, but one thing that I remember till that day, and that I often share with my team, a sentence that person said to me was, we don't communicate often with that client, but you know, no feedback means good feedback. And I told him that that strategy will not age well. So needless to say that I think 6 or 7 months after we had that conversation, they lost that client. And you know, I like to think of media intelligence as a lighthouse, something that guides our clients in the ocean of data, information, content, and so on and so forth, and helps our clients reach a safe harbor or helps them keep the negativity and the crisis at bay. And in order for us as professionals to be able to help our clients, we need to talk to them. We need to talk to them not once a month, once per quarter or whatever. We need to talk to them often. And back to the presentation, because I know that we have limited time today. Talking about journeys, the journey with our client had a starting point, and that starting point was the profile of our client. So again, that client is an EU political body operating in the MENA region. And back when we started working with them, they had a couple of challenges, but they were relatively new to the region. They were mostly presented on traditional media. They wanted to change that. They wanted to be on social more. So their key challenge was they basically wanted to boost their presence on social. They wanted to adapt their messaging, and they wanted to reach a wider audience, mostly on Instagram and Twitter, even X, which was their key media outlet back then. And after we had that first step, we continued with setting the course of our journey. And the first thing that we did after we talked to them, after we talked to our client and understood their goals, was to basically analyze their current presence in the region and also the sentiment of the audience towards their messaging at the time. And our goal basically was to enhance their communication, to help them with strategic steps for future communication, and also in a perfect case scenario to help them boost and attract larger audiences. And needless to say that the MENA region is a diverse one, a complex one. We had to monitor like 17 countries in the region in total. I think that the total number is 21, but our client was interested in those 17. So we discussed our approach with them and agreed that we will start with delivering weekly and monthly reports to that client. And the first thing that we noticed, even before we delivered our first report to them, after we finished the setup, we built the queries and so on, the first thing that we noticed was that the sentiment of the audience, the content, the interests, they varied sharply from country to country. And this is the first thing that we also mentioned to our clients. So if they wanted to be successful in that region, if they wanted to be able to make well-informed decisions, if they wanted to have effective positioning, there was no one-size-fits-all solution. They had to share like localized content, and country-specific responses. And from that point, once we had an agreement on the analysis, the types of analysis that we were about to deliver them, we worked together on the structure of our reports. And I can say that this is, at least from where I stand, a simple structure, which is not a bad thing, and I'll explain that in a moment. But as you can see, we had volume, we had media breakdown, we had a couple of performance metrics, and on the right side, we also have, of course, the data-driven insights, the actionable insights, the recommendations, and the commentary. And as a media intelligence professional, I know that we are sometimes tempted to over-engineer the analysis that we prepare, to add like, I don't know, 50 metrics, some of them built in-house, some of them with fancy names, a ton of charts and graphs and so on and so forth. But I can promise you that sometimes the simpler solutions work better. And that was the case with that client. And I'm not saying that complex reports are a bad thing. They're a good thing, especially if you're doing a pitch presentation or something. But at the end of the day, I can promise you that no one will remember the number of metrics, no one will remember the number of charts, of graphs, and so on, but they'll remember the results that they achieved with the help of your reports. And the thing I mentioned at the beginning, the integrated approach. So once we started working on the analysis for that client, we used a combination of automation for the sentiment and also for the topic discovery. And on the other hand, we use the expertise of our team when it comes to language, when it comes to cultural nuances, when it comes to understanding of the region. So the automation helped us with, again, the speed, maybe, but the expertise that we had within our team helped us and our clients to better understand what was there behind the data, what was there behind the numbers, behind the words, behind the texts, behind the images. And as you know, every ship that sails on open sea, sooner or later, it meets a storm. And I named that slide Overcoming Storms, but it's actually challenges. And we had a number of challenges when we worked with that client, but the key ones are on this slide here. And probably the main challenge that we had with them was, again, the region diversity. And we managed to, as a media intelligence professionals, we had to keep a lot of factors in mind while we were working on our recommendations, on our analysis, and so on. And those are factors like cultural differences, historical differences, language differences, of course, socioeconomic differences, if you want. And those are things that not only we had to keep in mind, we had to communicate those with our clients on a daily basis, with our client. The next thing, and this is probably a really important thing when you work with political structures, not only in the MENA region, white spaces and talking points. So our client wanted to know what were the popular topics and what was the gap basically between the topics that they covered on social and the topics that were interesting to the audience in the MENA region, but our client didn't talk much about. And this is something, again, with which the expertise of our team helped a lot. We spent a number of hours on research, on deep dive in the content in order to be able to address the white spaces and share them with our client. And probably my favorite slide of the presentation. So after almost a full year, so that didn't happen overnight or anything, after almost 12 months of work with them, more than 50 weekly reports, more than 10 monthly ones, and a lot of recommendations, actionable insights, and so on and so forth. Those are the numbers that our client achieved. So their followers on Instagram increased by 430%. They had an increase in following on X with 80%, and their reach, respectively, was 10 times higher. And again, back to my 3 key takeaways from our experience with that client. So, number 1, simplicity. And when I'm saying simplicity, I mean simplicity in terms of analysis. Over-engineering is not your friend. It's not always your friend, but you can achieve results, and your clients can achieve results with simple, straightforward, easy to consume analysis. And the project that I'm talking about, the client that we are still working for, is a good example of that. Integrated approach. So the combination of automation and human expertise really helped us, and it makes the magic happen. You have, again, scale on one side, and you have that depth that you can add to your analysis on the other, thanks to the expertise and the knowledge about the market, about the language, about the different countries that we had in that MENA region on the other side. And last on that list, communication. The importance of communication between you and your clients is something that creates probably the most important thing in a relationship. It creates trust, and if you have trust, you basically can't beat that with nothing. And being aligned in terms of expectations with your client is a superpower. And this was something that I think that we managed to achieve with that EU diplomatic entity during the course of the project. And at least to me, in addition to the results that I demonstrated 2 slides ago, this was our biggest success. And that was all from me.
Thank you, Philip. Really wonderful example of a real-world example of meaningful measurement. So do we have any questions from the audience for Philip? Yeah, back there.
So I'll just go grab my wallet.
Sure.
Hello. Thank you for this. I have a question related to how did you tackle the diversity, the language diversity in both monitoring and reporting? Because the area is, the data you probably covered was in different languages.
No, it was actually in Arabic and English mostly, but there are some differences again from market to market. And again, as I mentioned, we relied on the expertise of our team, of our Arabic speakers within our team to help us with that.
Okay, any other questions to Philip? No more questions from the audience? Okay, so thanks again, Philip, and thanks again, a big shout out again to AData Pro for being an amazing headline sponsor during the past days. Don't forget to visit their booth, and thank you. Thank you. So, with that, we're closing the program for Einstein Hall. Program continues in Millennium Hall. So thank you for joining me during this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the conference, and yeah, see you around in the lobby, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you.